Historian, the professor of the old school, music trivia hostess, Christina, artist and music aficionado, Michelle Alexander, and now, a man who wishes he was at spring training in Arizona, your host, Jim!
Well, thank you very much, Chris Rossetti. Good evening, everybody, and hello, virtual studio audience. Welcome to JS Live, Habs' late night talk and variety program. My name is Jim. I am from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Thanking you for spending your Thursday evening with us here on Habs, the network of now. Tonight, we have an action-packed program for you. We have great guests. We're going to be talking about music, and we're going to be talking about Habs, and we're going to be talking about a plethora of other fun things, but not just about music. We're going to go inside the story, inside the Habs broadcast studio. We are going to probe the minds of our three guests like they've never been probed before. I know that sounds kind of graphic, but trust me, it's a PG-13 program here, as always. So I just wanted to forewarn you on that puppy. But we have got a great show tonight. We have three great guests here to share their fun and their livelihood and what they bring to this platform each and every time they go live on this platform called Habs. Tonight we have from Scotland up at 5:07 in the morning, something like that. Helen Wallace, guys, great broadcaster, a great contributor to this platform. She'll be joining us to talk about music, the music industry, and a plethora of other topics. Also today in the program, from Phoenix via Las Vegas, Nevada, of all places, the professor of the old school will be joining us. He is a collector of tens upon thousands of not just vinyl records, but VHS tapes and Lord knows what else. We're going to be sharing that stuff with you as well. Also in the program, we have Golden Squirrel Award winner and noted quiz expert and a great friend of mine, Christina, from beautiful, scenic Virginia. She'll be joining us this evening. Plus, we have our virtual studio audience in here. Yeah, we have a virtual studio audience. So all of you guys in here, Michael, Andrea, Griselle, great seeing you. Heavenly Dew in Texas, Trixie, all of you replay viewers, you have a voice. This is kind of the antithesis of the late night talk and variety shows that you see on the news net or on the regular networks and the news networks for that matter. It's all interactive. It's all for fun. It's fun. It's just interactive, and it's just a relaxing alternative to the humdrum that you see over there on the regular networks, whether it be here in the States or across the pond over in Scotland. So be ready for that. And Molly, great seeing you. And yes, Molly, I literally, and I want to, first I go any further, I want to give a big hello and a big thank you to Carrie Long for an outstanding program this evening on Habstars, the program that precedes mine every Thursday night here on Habs. 6:30 Pacific, 8:30 Central. Chris Angeles was on, and Chris is got a pre-ordered album that is out and about. Go to chrisangeles.com to pre-order her new album. I've got my credit card ready to go, and there's so many ways to buy her pre-order. I just don't know which direction to go. So who knows, we may be able to coax her into telling us which direction we should go. Keep in mind, I've got a family, but I want to help out independent musicians and artists out there and get them recognized. So bravo to Carrie, bravo to Chris, and also to Michelle, who is doing great artwork on Habstars this evening. So make sure you support Carrie, Chris, and Michelle. Absolutely. Habs unity is community. All right. Enough of the hyperbole. It's already night after. Let's get to the meat and the potatoes of this program. Let's get on with our interview segment here. And a lot of you are coming in from Carrie's broadcast. Great seeing you on here. And it was great interacting with you guys over there on the broadcast with Carrie and Habstars tonight. Chris Rossetti, the voice of JS Live, is here. And something tells me Chris is going to be a guest on our program pretty soon. I won't say when and where, but stay tuned for that. But again, Carrie did a great job. So kudos to Carrie. She just jumped into the room. Please give her some high fives and applause and some thumbs up and some love and some subscriptions and sponsorships to Carrie, to Chris, and to Michelle, Native Graffiti. All three of them did an outstanding job this evening. All right. I usually pre-write intros when I bring on my first, second, and third guests every week here. What is Habs? Go to habs.tv. Periscope is going to be dead in 20 days. Hate to be subtle, but yeah. 20 more days. It's toast. It's history. It's over. A lot of your favorite Haps or Periscope broadcasters have moved over here to Haps, a free live streaming app where you can interact with people. You can do multi-people on one screen, do interviews. It's a great community. Haps Unity is community. Download the Haps app on your iPhone or your Android device, or go to haps.tv for more information. Our first guest this evening hails from Edinburgh. I was called Edinburgh because I over-enunciate everything like northern people do in the States. Yeah. She's from Scotland. Truly an accomplished broadcaster. She is in the nose with the music industry. She has an eclectic variety of music, and the knowledge just exceeds so many others I know in real life and here on Haps, the network of now. She is also a host of a little program called Helen's Mixtape that you can listen to and check out every Thursday on Vault Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from beautiful Scotland, how about a nice warm welcome to my good friend Helen. Hello, Helen. How are you, my friend?
Well, hello. What an introduction.
Good morning. How's the bingers and mash, or the eggs and the orange juice this morning?
I have no idea. I haven't been to bed yet. What is it, 4 a.m.? Figure it out. If you're ever stuck on the pronunciation of Edinburgh, just say the capital of Scotland. It'll always go down well. That's fine.
I'm telling you, I am literally trying to master this. Not only trying to master Haps like I am right now by just ad-libbing and just purposely pushing buttons around on this thing like I've been on Haps for 8 weeks. There we go, much better. There we go. And there's my wife, Maureen, in the room. Say hi to Maureen Ashley, everybody. We're talking with the amazing and talented Helen from Scotland. Radio Helen, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm a bit worried about why my camera's looking a bit yellow. I'm not happy with the white balance on that, but never mind.
It's okay. I'm just going to say my glasses look crooked tonight. I don't know. It was just a. I look like there's been some kind of radiation. I look like I'm womanish yellow. I don't know what's going on. I'm glowing. I'm just going to say, get the hazmat suits ready, ladies and gentlemen.
Hazmat suits ready. She's coming.
Get the hazmat suits ready. Something's going down in Scotland, and it's not good. Look out, everybody! So
John makes a valid point. John pointed out correctly that I don't have tea handy. He's right.
Well, you are always welcome. You're always welcome to run get tea, because that's
no. What I'll do is, when your other fabulous guests are on, then I'll exit and make tea. I can cope for a few minutes without it. I'll get there.
No pressure. But I mean, heck, if Doug from Doug and Allie's morning show with Frameable Faces can run off and get coffee during the show, we could jump in.
No, we're in the middle of having a conversation. Let's not get halfway through it. That's weird.
Right? Exactly. Well, this is like such a letdown. I'm probably just an afterthought compared to what you're going to be doing tomorrow on your cast here on Haps. If you're not subscribing to Helen right now, ladies and gentlemen, give me your hand. Subscribe to her and sponsor her. Helen, tell us about your special guest that you have on your program tomorrow on Haps.
Okay, I have been trying to tease this on my timeline with little videos to try to explain who this is, because I realize that quite a lot of Americans inhabit this app, and his genre of music didn't quite make it over there until a little bit later with Depeche Mode, kind of mid-80s. But I will be chatting with electronic music pioneer Rusty Egan.
Yes.
And obviously, the music aficionados amongst you will know who that is, but most people won't. So to cut a long story short, he actually discovered Spandau Ballet amongst many other things whilst running the Blitz Club. But so Rusty will be joining me around 10 p.m. GMT tomorrow night. So I'm not sure what time that is your time. But I don't know what you want to know about him. Like I say, the best thing to do is really to scroll my timeline and have a little look at the teaser videos. It explains much more clearly than I can. Right. He was a co-owner at the Blitz Club, which, basically founded the whole sort of new romantic movement. He was the co-founder of Visage, and a pioneer in electronic synth band. I'm just reading the comments. I shouldn't be just sorry. And he's a pretty big deal, but always the sort of silent man in the background. You know, it was him that was responsible for introducing Majure to Billy Currie, you know, to enable him to join Ultravox. You know, he's quite an important...
The Majure, guys. That's the Majure as an Ultravox, like Vienna.
The Majure as in the writer of Do They Know It's Christmas? You know, Live Aid, all of that. The Majure. So they co-founded Visage together. Well, they were originally in a band before that together called Rich Kids, which then, you know, paved the way to Visage, and then subsequently Midge joining Ultravox. So he is quite an important figure in not only electronic music, but everything that came sort of in the past 40 years since, because that sort of movement completely changed the path of music as we know it today. So he's important in that respect. It's just unfortunate that a lot of Americans don't know who he is.
I mean, he was a pioneer for that whole movement of music back then in the late 70s, early 80s. People were here in the States were so enamored with disco and power pop and metal and all of that and classic rock that meanwhile over in the UK, bands like Heaven 17, bands like Visage and Ultravox, bands like that were beginning to emerge, and then like Human League, stuff like a lot of the music that you play on Helen's playlist. These are some pretty heavy hitters, I must say. That and to be able to interview somebody like this, are you nervous? Are you excited? What's your take on this right now?
I'm a little nervous in the respect that I don't know what's going to happen with the platform. We're in beta mode, and occasionally glitches happen. I'm not nervous to talk to Rusty. I've known him for a long time, and he'll chat, he'll talk. I'm not nervous about that. I don't have any planned questions, or it's an informal chinwag, and it'll go on as long as it goes on. The whole point in doing it on Haps is that if I record it for radio, I've got to edit that down to a 2-hour maximum time frame, and I know Rusty, and I know that he'll like to have a chat, so I don't want to edit out anything that he has to say, which is why I'm doing it here. But no, I'm not nervous to talk to him. I'm nervous that I just hope everything goes okay.
You're gonna have your work cut out for you. I mean, especially if you know somebody, if you're in with Rusty for as long as you have, with that type of connection and everything like that. I mean, man, you're gonna be how do you choose which questions to ask? Do you have it sorted out?
That's the point. We'll see where the conversation flows.
When you walk into somebody, it's like tonight with me, guys. I'll be upfront with you guys. Everyone in the virtual studio audience, I've known Helen for since I've been on Haps, and I didn't even know her till Periscope. But I'm talking to her tonight like I've known her for years. The way I'm going to talk with my other guests this evening. I've known the professor for 5 years, Christina for 4 years. I mean, this is like the first JS Live program I've done with people who I'm calling like close friends. I usually bring in people who I know but don't know, but I mean, I want to reach out and bring people in for the HAPS community to know about, but I also want to not be comfortable either. And that's why.
So do you feel slightly, sorry to interrupt you, but so does that mean that you feel slightly more nervous interviewing us lot than you do normally? Is that what you're driving at, Jim?
I would say I feel comfortable with you guys. The problem is like what you're going to be doing with Rusty, I won't stay on topic. I'll just sit there and I'll squirrel and I'll go off.
That's fine. Listen, I have very carefully not branded this as an interview. I have been very careful in every post that I've mentioned about it to call it a chat. It's not a formalized list of questions. We'll discuss whatever he wants to discuss, and that will probably primarily focus around the fact that there's a documentary on Sky Arts that's being aired on Saturday around the Blitz Club, and the day before, well, actually today, Friday, now, the soundtrack for that is being released on all formats. So we'll probably discuss that, but I know that he'll want to discuss the music industry. He'll want to discuss, other stuff. So it isn't a formal interview. And to be honest with you, most guys who have been in the music industry for 40 or 50 years have already been asked every question they can already be asked. Like, what am I going to ask that nobody else has already asked?
This has been a breath of fresh air for him, probably, compared to the stuff.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope he feels. I'd like to think that even if we didn't know each other prior, I like to think I'm fairly easy to talk to.
Yeah.
So, I hope that it's just like, having a chat with a friend over a cup of tea or a beer or whatever. Like, that's what I want it to feel like.
Yeah. Why not? Hey, if you guys are just jumping into the broadcast, welcome to JS Live. This is the late night talk and variety show that we do here every Thursday night here on HAPS, the network of now. We do this every Thursday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Preceding my program, make sure you check out HAP Stars featuring the amazing Carrie Long. She did a great program before my show. She had special guest Chris Angeles, as well as noted artist and music junkie as well, Michelle Alexander, aka Native Graffiti. So make sure if you miss Carrie's cast, check out a replay, subscribe, and sponsor her, and check out Chris's new release. You can pre-order on chrisangeles.com. We're talking with the amazing Helen Wallace. Helen,
can I very quickly just say hi to everyone in the comments who said hello? I have not addressed anyone. I apologize. Hello, everyone.
Say hi to everyone.
Marcel, Pablo, Kerry, Jackie, everyone who said hi. I don't want to, cut into his questions or anything, but I want to acknowledge that I've read your comments. I see you, Dina, Andrea. Hi. And someone asked if I watch Outlander, and the answer to that is no.
Okay. Very good, very good. And I see Griselle in here. Griselle, I just want to acknowledge everybody in Europe, including Helen and Griselle and everybody in like the Middle East and in the Far East who's staying up 4 or 5 in the morning. I guess next week is Anne Rush.
She's an hour ahead of me, so she'll be 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, 5 a.m. for that young lady.
That is dedication. I hope you appreciate her, Jim.
Oh, she's going to be good. She said she wants to be on. I'm like, all right, cool. We're doing it. We're going live. But anyway, let's focus.
I wonder if she's going to pull an all-nighter for that, or if she's going to go to bed early and get up for it.
Oh, I don't know if she'll be able to do what you do, though. Helen, I don't know how you do it. I mean, you did that.
I don't either. Lots of coffee is the.
A lot of coffee. You're doing tea. Were you doing Elmhurst Brewing Company? Never mind. We're not going to go there. All right. So, well, God. Helen's mixtape, I'll be honest with you, I started listening to this about a month ago, and it's mostly electronic music, a lot of stuff that I love and I remember. And you bring on this program, make sure you go to Vault Radio, you check out Helen's mixtape. Did you have mixtapes as a kid? How did this whole concept, I knew you were an air personality, but I
think everyone had mixtapes as a kid.
How did this come about? Tell us about the whole Helen's mixtape thing.
Well, it came about because, funnily enough, through Periscope. Do you want the full story? How long have we got?
You've got all the time in the world.
So I've got a little bit extra time. Okay. So, one day I'm helping out a friend that I've met via Periscope who has a little radio show on community radio down in Galashiels, which is very near to where Phone Box Andrew is. I don't know if you know Andrew, who broadcasts on here. So it's in his neck of the woods. It's a little bit further away from Edinburgh. And Paul was doing a 32-hour non-stop broadcast to raise funds for his radio station. And 32 hours is a long time to be stuck in a tiny cupboard all on your own. So I went down to keep him company for sort of 3 or 4 hours, and we did a Scottish hour, and we did an electronic music hour. And while doing that, 2 of the committee members in charge of the radio station had tuned in the car on the way back from a gig and made their way to the station because they'd heard my voice. And it's funny because I just found the footage. I was actually broadcasting on Periscope at the time, so it was captured as it happened. So they've walked in, and the first thing they've said is, "You've got a really good voice. Would you like your own show?"
Oh my God, you do. Your voice is beautiful.
I'm just sitting there going, no, like I run a business and I've got a full-time job. Like, I hadn't thought about radio. So this was back in maybe March or April 2019.
Okay.
And by the October 2019, I had my own 3-hour show fortnightly on a Friday, and I play whatever I want. The prerequisite, the agreement to do it was I get to play what I want. I don't have they're not giving me a playlist. If I'm doing this thing, I get to play what I want. That's what it is. It's literally what I would like to hear. So the whole concept behind mixtape is very much like when you were younger and you would make someone a mixtape at school and say, listen to this. That's essentially what it is. It's Helen's mixtape. It's just whatever I want you to hear that week. Have you
And
discovered?
that's what it should be. I mean, it should be more freeform instead of homogenized, predictable, tight wad playlists that you hear on terrestrial radio, or even, dare I say, pay satellite services.
Well,
You don't have to worry about.
I think everything went, downward in a downward spiral in terms of radio when it became executives that decided the playlist and not the DJs.
Yep.
I think that's when it kind of there won't be another John Peel. I don't know if you know John Peel. John Peel was a really well-renowned BBC presenter who a lot of bands are, they were discovered because of him, and he wouldn't play the norm, and he'd go out and search
The
for
Peel
things.
sessions.
John Peel, a really well-known DJ here, but that won't happen again because an executive decides the playlist.
Yep.
So the good thing about community radio is that's not the case. It's people who are passionate about. We don't get paid to do it, unfortunately,
Right.
but we're passionate about music. So we're trying to promote. Some bands that are still going, that were producing music back in the day, that the new stuff never gets heard. Nobody knows they're still making music. Or you'll have new bands that are coming through that aren't signed to anyone. They're doing it independently, so they're producing their own. Sometimes their own actual physical copies. They're selling vinyl on Bandcamp or whatever to make ends meet. There's no touring or anything because of COVID at the moment. So,
Right.
it's people who are passionate about music, who are promoting people who are talented. There's decent music out there if you search for it.
Right. Which leads to this question: when you do a playlist for your show, is this something that you just kind of plan days in advance? Or when you go to record this, or when you go to, put it together, do you just wing it on the fly? How do you go about?
There's a theory behind this. There's a theory about how I would like to do it and what usually happens, right?
Right. But I'm saying,
I'm not the most organized person on the planet, Jim. Just in case you hadn't noticed, I'm not
organized chaos.
pretty much. So, what used to happen when I did live radio, and I will admit, although I do mixtape and I love doing that, I miss live radio. I started doing mixtape and putting it on Mixcloud after the transmission because it's a pre-record. It's not. I'm not in a live studio. The studio was shut down for COVID, and we weren't allowed to go in there. And then we were told, right, you need to record from home. I didn't have any equipment or anything. I'd only just. I'd been asked to do radio because they liked my voice. I hadn't come from a radio background, and I'm not a DJ. I don't consider myself as a DJ. So I didn't have any equipment. I had to go buy a mic. I had to go buy a desk, a mixing desk. I had to buy all that myself. Right. No equipment was, loaned to me or anything. And so I would actually like to get back into live radio again because there's a certain adrenaline. You run a different way. It's more exciting when you're broadcasting it live. It's very difficult to sit and talk to yourself on a pre-record. That's why I do so little talking. And it means I can squeeze in a few more tunes as well. If I do as little talking as possible, it means I can squeeze in more tracks. So I've completely forgotten what the question was, Jim. There was a point to where I was going. I was going somewhere with that spiel.
No, but if you miss doing live radio, which is fine, but aren't you concerned?
How do I make the playlist? That's what you. I do apologize. That's what you asked me. How do you make the playlist? I will. Yeah. I'll get it eventually, but bear in mind I have no caffeine, so I'm a little bit slower than normal.
This is spontaneous. I love spontaneity. This is good.
So you asked how I make how I decide the playlist. So when I was doing live radio, I'd have that sort of hour and a half, 2 hour drive or whatever, and I would try and sort of have maybe half an hour's worth of music lined up in the player, from their system, and then just wing the rest. One day, my third broadcast on my own, the whole system crashed.
Oh, jeez.
And I had to reboot the system, and I had no clue what to do. So I'm obviously talking to the committee on the phone. They're talking me through the tech.
Yeah.
I had to get the box of CDs from the car, from the glove box.
Serious?
And I was spinning in the studio. There was 2 CD players, one on top of the other, Denon CD players, and it was literally a case of spinning discs, putting one in, playing it, putting another one in the other, and having one ready, having one queued up, and spinning for an hour, whilst simultaneously under the desk, plugging and unplugging things on the phone to the. Do you know what? From that moment on, I swore I would never plan anything ever again, and it's the main reason to have physical copies of music in your car. Like, that saved my backside that day, having CDs in the car. with mixtape that for the pre-record, obviously I have to make sure it's bang on 2 hours.
Right.
In the studio, you'd cut out for the if you went over, you would cut off and put the news on because you had to have it. Whereas with mixtape, because it's pre-recorded, it has to be bang on 2 hours. So I do have to plan that a little bit better. But I tend to do that the day before. In theory, the day before, 9 times out of 10, the same day just before I record it. So unless something specific has happened that week, like maybe I did a sort of American themed thing when, you know, you had your inauguration, or there was one week where we'd lost Florian Schneider from Kraftwerk, so there was a half-hour dedication to him, or, you know, we lost Ennio Morricone was a really difficult one because I decided to read Hans Zimmer's Facebook post about Ennio Morricone, and I tried to record that about 4 or 5 times, and every single time I'm even welling up now talking about it. Every single time I just
pretty big when that was put up there. Absolutely.
Blubbing. You know what, I kept it in. I just kept me blubbing like an idiot in the recording because I thought I'm not recording that a 6th time.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that when Helen does her mixtape thing, she has a 2-hour. She has to get that thing in 2 hours, and that's it. So she has to perfect that. So she can either put in a little quick 2.5-minute long song, or she can play another song that kind of goes a little bit longer. She can do like a 30-second, you know, segue between the last 2 songs. You know, It's just improvisation 101. And hey, by the way, if you're just jumping onto the broadcast, our friends in the virtual studio audience, welcome aboard here on JS Live, the late night talk and variety program we do each and every Thursday night, Friday morning for Helen and everybody else over there in Europe and the Middle East and in Asia and Australia, here at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific here in the States. Joined right now by the amazing Helen Wallace. Coming up later on, we have the professor of the old school from Phoenix via Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll be talking with him. Also, a winner of the Golden Squirrel Award for Best Trivia Scope back in the Periscope days. She's still over there gracing the Periscope airwaves. Soon to transition over here to HAPS, as well as Twitter Live, the amazing Christina. We'll be talking with her shortly as well. Great having everybody in the virtual studio audience. Helen, a couple more questions for you before we move you over to this virtual studio. Do you actually have like your old cassette mixtapes laying around, like old school, like audio?
Not lying around, no.
You're not that old, right? Like
I'm one of those people who never throws anything away. So they'll be in a box in an attic somewhere. I just have no intentions of climbing up into the attic to find them, but they'll be there. There will be stuff there. I remember distinctly, and I've probably still got it somewhere. One of very, very clear memory is my mum used to make me mixtapes as a kid. Like that's
wow. Do you still have them?
I will have somewhere. Like I say, I never throw anything away. A very clear memory, and like I say, I was immersed in music as a very young child. I remember very clearly. Did you guys have Now That's What I Call Music? You know, the double LP.
Oh no, not the now. It was called Now That's What I Call Music. Yeah.
Yeah,
I never had those. We had things
it wasn't the first one. It was maybe the second or third. I remember it was grey with diagonal stripes across it. 1984, because Dancing with Tears in My Eyes by Ultravox was on it. That's how I know it was 1984. And Frankie Goes to Hollywood and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God!
I distinctly remember
King and
I distinctly remember my mum saying to me, which songs do you want on your tape? And I was to go through this. I was only 3. 1984, I was 3. I remember going through the thing, and I probably wasn't able to read the names, but obviously they all had little photos next to them. I was able to pick which songs I wanted, and I knew that I wanted them. I was already a fan of Ultravox at that point.
Oh my God.
So that's a very clear memory of my mum making me mixtapes and me picking which songs I wanted from Now That's What I Call Music, whatever one that was in 84 with the grey with the diagonal. I'd love to Google that image and try and find it because I don't know which one it is. I'm guessing it's the second or third one. Hi, Chris. So yeah, the mixtapes were definitely a thing as a kid, for sure.
That is huge. That is huge. Now I know you're a music manager. You are doing your mixtape program on Vault Radio. You're doing all of your amazing broadcasts here on HAPS. You've got that huge interview with Rusty Egan here tomorrow. But when you are not live anymore and you need time to chill, or when you're away from the mic or managing, what do you like doing for fun? What does Heather do to get away from and drink coffee?
I can't believe you did that again.
It's okay. It's called Spontaneity here. Spontaneity 101 here on Haps the Network now.
Believe it or not, this is my fun. This is not my job.
No, what do you do for? I mean, what do you do like you work obviously, but I'm saying like for fun.
I'm a full-time photographer for work. I run a business. That's my job.
What kind of photography do you like doing? I mean, if you had a preference as far as the type of photography that you wanted to do you like doing nature, people, places? What do you like doing as far as photography?
I only ever photograph people, but actually I started off doing bands, and that's what I'm known for. Comedians.
Gigs. I should have thought that.
Yeah, but then, that doesn't pay the mortgage. So I set up a studio and I did portraits and weddings, and, then I closed the studio when my, marriage imploded, and, how life, these things happen. But no, I now work from home, and I've been doing photography about maybe 12 years full time. It is extremely quiet just now because of COVID. I mean, I had gone to Australia almost exactly a year to the day. I'd gone on the 14th of March last year for a couple of weeks to meet some people.
Okay.
And COVID kicked off while I was there. I was lucky to get home, and when I came back, everything was cancelled. All the gigs that I would normally photograph, cancelled. All the weddings, cancelled. Nobody wants a portrait done when we're in a lockdown situation and you're socially distanced. So work is virtually non-existent at the moment. All the offices for the IDs that I would do, corporate lawyers' offices, closed. So this is why I'm putting so much work into this, because this has essentially become a full-time job at the moment, because I'm enjoying it. But it won't be my job, because I think you lose a little bit of your love for something when you make it your career. I never pick up a camera for fun anymore.
Right.
I love my job. It's the best job in the world. But a job is a job. I pick up the camera. It's a paid job, and the camera gets put away.
That's going to pay the bills.
Yeah, I don't do it for fun anymore. So I'm a little bit worried that if I was to pursue the radio thing, which I love, I'm worried that I might lose a little bit of the passion or the love for it. And that's where I'm at. I'm at a kind of crux,
of course,
moment. But yeah.
It's all good. So do me a favor. I appreciate you coming by here. I want you to stick around. We have the professor of the old school in the brown room, as we call it, because it's for the golden squirrel. It's the brown room for brown squirrels. So we're going to have the professor coming in to talk with us. And then we've got Christina coming in here. She's also in the brown room waiting for us. So Helen, please plug your subscription page here on Haps and other social media platforms, as well as promoting your show tomorrow, and anything else you'd like to promote?
Well, all my social media is on my profile page, so that's really easy to find. But what I would really like to plug is the Sky Arts documentary on Saturday. It's called Blitzed, and I think it's 9 p.m. on Saturday on Sky Arts. That's 9 p.m. GMT. And like I say, the Blitzed soundtrack for that has just been released. If you search for Rusty Egan, I'd rather plug that than plug me. You can find me. You can literally click on my name and I'm there. I'm easy enough to find. So, and all the mixtape details and the Mixcloud and the Vault Radio, that's all on the profile. It's easy enough to find. Excellent.
Well, Helen, thank you so much for being a part of this program. Stick around. I'm going to have you go on the virtual couch, because when we come back, that is Helen Wallace, ladies and gentlemen. Virtual round of applause for our virtual studio audience. That is Helen Wallace, everybody. When we come back on this JS program here, JS Live here on Haps the Network of Now, we are going to go to the City of Sin, Las Vegas, Nevada, where we are going to say hello to the professor of the old school. Don't move. JS Live is straight ahead. Thank you. How's that for a cold cutoff? Welcome back to the program here. It's JS Live, your late night talk and variety program here on HAPS, the network of now. Coming up later in the program, we are going to have Golden Squirrel Award winner as well as amazing trivia hostess, Christina, will be joining us. We may even talk wine. We may even talk beer. If she's good, we'll see what happens. We'll let her. We'll hang out in the virtual studio waiting room over there. Our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, is from beautiful, scenic Phoenix, Arizona. I had the honor and privilege of meeting this man at the 2018 Arizona Perry Meetup over there in Glendale, Arizona. He currently resides there with his amazing wife, a fellow DJ and promoting guru named Tam Tam. This man has over 18,000 and counting vinyl records of every size, shape, and variety. And he is joining us this evening, tonight, from Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting from a secret location on the Strip. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, your friend and mine, the Professor of the Old School. Hello, Professor.
Hello, Jim. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, my friend. What is going on, man? Great seeing you, my friend.
I am relaxing here in the city of Sin, and a couple of things I like to throw out there before we get started. First of all, a moment of silence for the inventor of the compact cassette, Mr. Lou Ottens. He invented the cassette in the early 50s, and I wore this mask today to send out a shout out to him. So, little 80s, a lot of cassette. So, give Lou a moment of silence wherever you happen to be. And if you're an 80s radio guy like myself or connoisseur of the boombox, Lou was your man. So,
oh my goodness.
Secondly, I came prepared with the official drink of Las Vegas, Nevada. None other than a bang. You cannot be in Vegas and not have a bang. And on that note,
oh my goodness. I think I've seen it all now. I think I've seen it all, and see all be all. That is worth the price of admission right there. Bang, everybody. Here, everybody, we're doing it with a bang. Yeah. I mean, God, the old compact cassette. I feel so bad. That's well, our deepest heartfelt condolences go out to everybody who knew him, his family, his friends, and everyone, and anybody who's touched a compact cassette in their life. We are forever indebted, and our prayers go out to him. So my goodness, Las Vegas, Nevada, you're out and about traveling, but when you're back over there in beautiful Phoenix, just to give you a heads up about this young character over here to my right, to your left, depending where you are on your whatever platform you're on. 18,000, is that right? 18,000 vinyl albums and counting.
Yes, that's actually just the 45 RPM records and some of the CDs. I have still yet to enter the LPs as well as the 45 RPM big 12-inch singles there. Neither one of them are completed yet. That's a thing that's going on. So I think all told, I will probably be up around 20,000 when it's all said and done.
Oh, jeez.
Just a few.
So let me figure this out here. So basically, your wife Tam basically probably relegates you to the shed, provided there are records in the shed, and then pretty much your garage is got to be like a walking encyclopedia of music. I'm envious because whenever you watch the Professor's broadcasts, in the background you see a whole wall of vinyl albums. And are those albums that we see on your wall over there, Professor, are those categorized by alphabetical order, by format, or by year? How do you pick something out so quickly and then just bring it out and share that with your audience?
It is alphabetical because I believe that there used to be a saying at the radio station I used to work at that you format diskettes, not music. So you just put it all in straight alphabetical order because there's a lot of people who cross over. There's maybe someone like Lionel Richie who had pop hits as well as R&B hits. There's a lot of people who are not just straight one genre. And I also grew up in the heyday of AM radio where it was all music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. It wasn't, and back then it was, wasn't large corporate cookie cutter stuff either. It was literally more free form, a little bit more experimentative. Is that what's killing music today? I mean, is it just, maybe it's just me, maybe we're just old, but is there not as much of a variety of music? I mean, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, like I did, I'm a Generation X person. But I mean, you'd hear like a Frank Sinatra song, followed by the Four Tops, followed by Led Zeppelin. I think in this day and age, you're not going to hear like a Killer song or a song from Parquet Courts, followed by, Lizzo, and then followed up by Ice Cube. You're not going to hear that variety anymore, are you?
No, because I think there's a few different factors at work here. Number one is, as Helen touched on, the DJ is no longer involved in the selection process as she is with her show, and she should celebrate her freedom of expression when it comes to having a music program, is because disc jockeys now are not afforded that same luxury of being able to be the gatekeeper of music. Normally, we have a lot of experience listening to music. We have an in, or at least we used to have an in with the radio and other radio stations and record companies where they would send us promotional copies of things. We'd listen to them and kind of glean off the top 10 to 20% of it and present it to our fans. The second thing is that performers are no longer really, quote unquote, paying dues, or at least here in the United States. It used to be before that a lot of soul and R&B performers came through the church. A lot of rock performers went through a lot of different groups and cut their teeth on learning and performing live. And then maybe if they were lucky enough to all gel together in a nice group, they've been able to present themselves, but they have the wealth of experience behind them before they were presented to the audience there. So very few pre-manufactured groups actually hit the airwaves back then in the 60s, 70s, and I'd say the early 80s. In the mid-80s, it got manufactured a lot there, but I still enjoy the mid-80s and later, so it's not totally terrible.
So you're not hesitant. I know you've done some shows on Mixcloud and some other, and back in the Periscope days where you would mix, you'd like an all 12-inch extended mix show where you'd have some songs from the mid 80s as well as early 80s, some of the 70s and all that good stuff. Hey, if you're just jumping onto the program, welcome to JS Live. This is the late night Talking Friday program that I do each and every Thursday night. If you want to subscribe, do that in my profile. And also big thank you to those who are sponsoring me here on HAPS. All that money helps pay for Ashley's medical cannabis bills, which we're paying for out of pocket. We're being joined by the professor of the old school, originally from Phoenix, but joining us this evening from Las Vegas, Nevada. And Professor, as I mentioned before, he's aiming for 20,000 vinyl records in his collection. So let's go to the Wayback Machine. And I'm going to ask you a question I'm sure many people have asked you before, but maybe not here on HAPS. Do you still have like vinyl selections from when you were a child? And if so, do you have your very first record still in your possession today?
Well, that's kind of an answer I can go one of two ways with. I do not have the physical vinyl anymore. However, back in 1984, I took the time to record all the 45s onto a series of cassettes called My Personal Music Collection. And I wrote myself a note back in 1984 that I slipped in the cassette case. And it was like just a letter to my future self. And I keep those in 3 volumes in a case of other cassettes. So
wow.
I don't have the real vinyl, but I do have the sounds, the pops, the clicks, the jumps. I didn't go out and seek brand new copies of the 45s. I left the original ones that I played to death in the early 70s.
Now, as you know, when you backed up your cassettes, sometimes those cassette players have an insatiable appetite and they like eating tapes. Do you have backups to those tapes just in case?
I do not. However, I will be backing them to digital, and a lot of my old radio shows that I did in the early 90s, what I did was I used to, anybody who's familiar with a VCR, I invested in a hi-fi VHS player, set the timer at home for the radio station I performed on. So I just had the tuner set, the VCR set at the right time. It would kick on and record my radio program. So I'm currently digitizing those from back 30 years ago. And boy, my voice sounded way different.
Your voice is a lot higher. You had a lot more hair,
Yeah.
All that stuff. Oh boy, look out! Look out! I'm catching up. Although I got kind of the got the jet pet hair going this evening. The girl does my hair somewhere over in Mexico for the 50 millionth time in a year. Speaking of radio, one of my favorite stories that you told me on a recent Periscope broadcast back in the day. I don't remember the station, but I remember you were involved in a little incident at a radio station where you played an Ice Cube song. So I don't know if you want to tell us that little story.
Okay. Well, normally I would do the shows myself. It was called the PhD of Old School. That's where I got my name, doing the radio show in a place called Santa Rosa, California. The station, it's going to remain nameless because they're still in business, and I'm sure that you guys would call them and let them have it. But what happened was I had a couple of friends who were big hip-hop fans at the time, and they would come over to the house and sample my collection and stuff. And this went on for like a year and a half. And I said, hey, guys, why don't you come down to the station, and we can do a show on the sampled songs, and then we play the songs that they came from, the original versions from the soul records and all that good stuff. And so we said, yeah, sure. So we got to it was I think it was Bricks Dusick, the original. But Ice Cube turned around and used it for a song called "No Vaseline," and it's wrong. And there was a clean version, and then there was a dirty version.
How can it be a clean version? There's nothing clean about the song.
Hey, I'm just saying.
It cracks me up. I mean, I think that whole album is classic. There's no question about it. I love that album from start to finish. That's the last song on the album, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of a parting shot at the late Eazy-E. And of course, all the other guys, he lets Dre stick to producing. And, I remember MC Ren when he drove a B210. And those are probably the only lines I remember that were clean. So what happened? So go ahead, I'm sorry.
So basically, they flipped on the wrong side, and about a minute and a half into it, I had to make a decision because I realized they played the wrong version. They realized they played the wrong version. But like a trooper, I said, well, for my audience, it was on after 10 p.m., and it was a public broadcast station. So I figured, what the heck? We're all adults here, right?
We could do this.
Exactly.
So did you play? But the $64,000 question though is did you get to play the whole song straight through, or do they just like the music director jump into the room and?
I played it straight through, with no Vaseline. I played it.
Boom, 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 and it fades out with Cube babbling and all that stuff. Oh my goodness! So obviously we talked about your vinyl. 20,000 is the goal for your vinyl collection. In addition to all those records, I saw one of your broadcasts where you brought out an 8-track player. I kid you not, everybody in my casts who watched my Golden Squirrel Awards saw my 8-track player with no 8-tracks. You not only have the 8-track player, you have the media to go with it. Tell us about, you collect 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs, MP3 recordings, and VHS tapes and DVDs. How many 8-tracks do you own?
Right now, I'm probably in the neighborhood of 40 to 50.
That's awesome.
I'm really particular in the ones I grab because it's just tough to find them in good shape because Time being the bandit, you think we age with Time? We still look great compared to most 8-track tapes because they didn't build them to last. So the glue on the paper bubbles. The tape itself gets slack, depending on how many times it was played in the past. It gets this kind of haze on it. And lastly, the little bumpers inside there, the little plastic guys, the little rubber guys, degrade. Yeah. So the minute you throw it in there, it falls apart like this foam, just, and then it goes, and you end up with tape salad.
Which tape did you put in that was really good that you had consumed by one of your first 8-track players that you were on live in?
Well, I've had two recently. I've had one from the jazz great Donald Byrd, and I had one from
That
Hart.
was it.
It was, yeah.
Oh. Donald Byrd's the man. I mean, that guy, he's a legend. The man with the horn.
He was, like myself, a professor at Howard University, and the group, the Blackbirds, were students of his that had hits on the top 40. You know, if you remember the song Walking in Rhythm, that was a bunch of...
Wait, this is...
Yeah.
Nice. So what's your favorite 8-track that you have?
The favorite one right now is the Sound Explosion. It's a K-Tel-esque on Atom 8. It's a K-Tel-esque collection from 1972, which is kind of the first year I started collecting. So I've almost been collecting now for 50 years. So, amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And that was back when K-Tel had 22 original artists by the original stars. And then when record companies started getting a little bit uptight, they brought that down to 20 and then ultimately 18, which was sad. And then the prices of them went from $3.99 for records and $4.99 for 8-tracks and cassettes. K-Tel presents Music Explosion. Yeah, exactly. I'm bringing in Heather, or not Heather. I had to do that just as a joke. I'm bringing in Helen so she can rid me here. Helen, get in here. I'm trying to sneak in here because we've got Christina coming up here in a second.
Why? What have I done? Why am I coming in? What?
Because I want you to say hi to the professor. This is
hi, Professor.
You're on the couch.
Do I know you?
I don't know. Who the hell are you?
Actually, Helen and I go back here. We actually do a show together on here, and we usually have a rotating cast. But we just had a show this past Tuesday night, but Helen wasn't able to make it. Right. And then we talk about music, and it's pretty cool. And she also accompanies me on my broadcasts, even though I got to get one in before the end of the week. And for the Hats Challenge,
Professor, you really need to tell everybody about those broadcasts because they are so underrated. I don't know why people aren't seeing them, but it's fascinating to watch. Do you want to explain to everybody what you do on those broadcasts?
Yeah, sure. What I do is that as a historian, I tend to digitize a lot of media, mostly photo media right now, that I have possession of a couple of thousand negatives in color from the collection of a guy who was a photographer here in Las Vegas, and he photographed a ton of classic rock acts. And so what I'm doing right now is taking the actual physical negatives. You remember negatives, right? The old people in the room, the Gen Xers. There was not the days where you hit the go button and shoot button and hit 100 exposures. Oh, no. You had a 12, a 24, or a 36 to get it right. Yep. And you also had to pick the right speed for the right application. So you had to go with your 100 speed films for your outdoors and 400 for indoors. It wasn't as easy as it is like picking up your phone and taking a picture. No. So anyway, this guy and guys were nice enough to take photos of all these vintage block acts. And this past week, or about a week ago, I did the group Rush in one of their shows. So if you're a big Rush fan, right, please go back and check my broadcast, and you will actually see those photos come to life, being scanned and brought from the analog world into the digital world.
All right. That's good to know. That is definitely good to know. Let me bring Helen back in here and myself and try to get this to work. I'm just moving everybody around here. This is why I feel like it's
I think Professor has been really modest and completely underplayed that.
I agree.
It's very much like, as a photographer myself, it's very much like old school when you would physically see the photo start to, come alive in front of your eyes when you were developing in the tray. It's that kind of thing. You don't know what's on the negative until it's scanned, and then suddenly this image appears and you don't know what it is, and you don't know whether it's any good, and then you get to find out, who it is and how they're honestly, it's fascinating to watch. And also, you haven't really been clear about, the other person the estate that you work for that you.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
Tell people about that as well.
Yeah, well, I also work with a guy's family whose dad was a famous photographer in the New York City area from the mid-40s all the way up into the early 70s. His name is William Popsy Randolph. And Jim, you'll enjoy this. His real last name, he had a Greek last name as Caesanius. But one day in a rainstorm on Randolph Street in Chicago, he was calling in a hotel reservation to another city, and he was trying to spell his name to a dim-witted clerk on the phone. And finally, he just looked up and said, "My last name is Randolph, Popsy Randolph." But there you go.
101. Look at that. That's how that works. God. All right. Well, Professor, do me a favor. Plug the living daylights out of everything that you do, all your platforms, all the stuff that you do here on HAPS, on Mixcloud, all that good stuff.
And your book.
And the book, yes.
And the book. Books, plural.
If you're ever so inclined, you can go to Amazon.com, type in the words Popsy, Popsie, Randolph, and come up with a couple of books I've produced for the estate. There's one on the early days called Heavy Soul, which was a session it was a Atlantic Records release party featuring the release of When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge. So he was there. Wilson Pickett showed up. He was there. Esther Phillips was there. And then lastly, King Curtis and his band were the backing band that night. And they had a gentleman on guitar known as James Marshall Hendricks wearing And this was before he went over to Europe and made a name for himself. This was in May of 1966. And unseen photos. So if you really love Hendrix and if you love old soul music, go check out Heavy Soul by yours truly. I wrote the text, did the editing, blah, blah, blah. And the second book you should look for, if you want to know more about Popsy Randolph, go and see Popular Music Through the Lens of William Popsy Randolph. And it's a anthology of a lot of the photos in chronological order. So you'll see Glenn Miller, you'll see the burgeoning early jazz bebop movement, you'll see the early doo-wop movement because he was there for the Alan Freed shows. He was there for Chuck Berry starting out, Jerry Lee Lewis. You'll also see the advent of the British invasion. You see the early shots of the Beatles, Rolling Stones, the Animals. You'll see all that. Dusty Springfield. And in the late 60s, you'll actually see early shots of Bob Seger, Led Zeppelin, a bunch of other people. Wow. If you want to see and portraits of early Motown acts like the Supremes, Marvin Gaye, and even the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, who's not Motown, but he did portraits of for people as well. So, and this guy, Elvis, him signing his contract with the William Morris Agency, if you're into that guy.
Oh, my God. You guys have your work cut out for you guys. That's your homework assignments. If you're willing to get that book now. I mean, I'm going to have to grab one of those too. Just there's stuff that, and guys, make sure you check out his Mixcloud. Make sure you check him out everywhere. Check him out at HAPS. He is a walking almanac of musical knowledge, walking liner notes. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause from our virtual studio couch for the incomparable Professor of the Old School, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you, folks. And again, Jim, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about this stuff. And without the press like yourself, it would all be for naught. So again, give yourself a round of applause, and everybody else who's here tonight, and anyone who's ever been on your show, because again, you are the conduit between us and them. So keep up the good work, and thank you again.
Thank you for the kind words, my friend. Cheers to you. Thank you so much, PhD of Old School. Coming up next, yes, we have our awesome guest coming up, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue on here on a Thursday night here on HAPS, the network of now. We're going to be joined by Golden Squirrel Award winner of the best trivia scope last year and the year before, and a great friend. And talking about music knowledge, no pressure, Christina. You got it. Christina, she is next here on JS Live, here on HAPS, the network of now. Don't move, everybody. Coming up next on Sex and the City, Cosmopolitan. Oh, hi, welcome back. Welcome back to the program. Next week on the program here on the JS Live Late Night Talk and Variety Spectacular, we'll be joined by Ann Rush. She'll be cooking us, in her part of the world, breakfast. For us, it'll be the fourth meal. Also scheduled next week, funny man and good friend Chris Rossetti, plus a special musical guest to be determined. So join us next Thursday here on HAPS, the network of now, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Our next guest this evening hails from the East Coast. I stumbled upon her broadcast doing a late night quiz where she was offering all sorts of topics and categories on a Periscope broadcast that completely stumped me half of the time. And there would be people on her cast with phones or tablets or something, and they were so quick to answer stuff. Shazam would ask the participants, what's the name of that song? She is a Golden Squirrel Award winner. She is here on HAPS, the network of now, and she's going to be also on Twitter Live when that goes live. And she'll continue the tradition of quizzing wherever she roams. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello to an amazing woman. Say hello to the one and only Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hey. How's everyone doing?
Welcome.
I didn't know where to look. This is only like my third time, right? So
this is your third broadcast ever here on HAPS. And
I haven't figured out where to look.
And the first one on mine. So I'm really nervous. I've never interviewed you before. So I'm usually the one that jumps on your quiz, and you've jumped on mine. And, I continue to give the gift of lag on my broadcasts. But it's a work in progress.
Me too.
Yours are, you're like a multi-Golden Squirrel Award winner. I mean, there are a lot of people who do these quizzes here on Periscope and here on HAPS and on some other platforms and everything like that. I mean, people think of, Johnny Blowtorch and Martin and Droid and a bunch of the other people. But guys, Christina is pretty much the de facto standard as far as, not just music, but I mean, she'll do anagrams, she'll do, puzzles, she'll improvise a little bit. And absolutely amazing and talented, and the people just love the chill vibe that comes with your broadcasts when you go live and everything. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's just the professor and Heather jumping in to say hi really quick. This is what we call spontaneous broadcasting 101. I have to reset the server, go back to Jim, and then bring back in Christine. But we'll have Heather, God, it's my admin, Helen and the professor join me shortly. God, I'm going to like Helen, like 1,000 pounds or 1,000 euros every time I mess up. But let's get Christina back in here. See, this is what you can look forward to, Christina, when you do.
Oh, look at that mess back there. I gotta fix
it. I've been on for how many months here doing this stuff here, and I'm still learning it. Yes. Watch, now it will work. No, it won't. Now, see, watch, now it'll work. There we go. That's the way we wanted to do it. So Christina, basically, for those who don't know Christina, make sure you subscribe to her. Great quizzes and a great friend. And God, I mean, do you remember like the first quiz you ever did on Periscope, or how did you come about doing this?
Well, I actually used to host quizzes on IRC chat. Do you remember IRC?
No.
It was kind of like the precursor to like, Periscope. You'd all sit there and type and you'd be in chat rooms. And I would actually, you'd have to program a bot to then I would have to give it signals, through the keyboard, and it would play a clip of a song.
Oh, okay.
So all the participants, they would have to, download the play. It's sort of like a playlist, I guess. But they couldn't look at it, obviously. It was all little like clips of songs. And so that was over like 20 years ago. I used to do that. Or I do it via, typing in trivia questions. But Periscope, I found, I guess it was about 5 years ago. My sister was, my sister won an award at QuiltCon, and somebody was, it's highly competitive, and somebody was scoping it, so I could actually see her quilt and see her win it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so that's how I found Periscope. Otherwise, I'd never been on it before. And I found some guy that was playing music, and they would be like, guess this song, guess this song. It was all like old, like jazz stuff. I mean, I don't think he's even on anymore. And then I, had found, I think probably a couple of the other people in the quiz community, and just started playing and was really good. And then I got talked into hosting about maybe a year and a half after that.
Wow.
I've been on hosting maybe 4 years. Looking at my Periscope thing, it says 3 years, but I don't think I've hit the 4-year mark. I think the end of the month will be the 4-year mark.
Wow. And that'll be a landmark. I mean, you've been doing this forever too. And
it's been a while.
I know when I was with, we had a little thing called Thunder Crew on Friday nights, and we did a kind of a semi-quasi quiz on like around midnight Eastern, 11 Central, but you were quizzing well before we did Thunder Live with Thunder Crew on Periscope.
And I would be on long. I'd start at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and I'd go till about 2 a.m.
And that's the story, which leads to this question. And this, I usually, as a courtesy to my guests, I always like prepare them and kind of throw questions at them to let them know, this is what I'm thinking about asking you. But this is like just improvisation 101. How do you do this for like 5 hours straight? I mean, I don't know.
It just goes by so fast, and I have such a good time doing it and introducing the new music to people. Right. I like to teach them music. Let's put it this way. I mean, everybody knows the top 40. We play this stuff so much. You all know top 40 stuff, and I try not to play that. And the hits from even, some of the more obscure bands. It's like, let's go a little deeper than that. And so I like doing that and sort of introducing it to people. And next thing you know, it's like 3 hours have gone by. I'm like, oh, I haven't even stood up, and next thing you know, it's 2 a.m.
So you're doing these things for 4 or 5 hours sometimes, and trust me, I'm guilty. I've been in there for 3-4 hours myself on given Friday evenings. If you're just jumping on, welcome aboard to the JS Late Night Talk and Variety program here on HAPS, the network of now. I'm Jim from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I'm joined by Christina, who is doing her third broadcast here on HAPS. She's still doing her quizzes Friday evenings here on over there on the old network, Periscope, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. So make sure you check her out there. And, Christina, I know you're on for hours on end, continuously doing these quizzes. And you take a lot of time to prepare and put them together. You do different categories, all that. Tell me your favorite quiz category that you like providing as a quiz hostess, as well as your favorite quiz that you like participating in as a participant.
Well, I like I said, really like doing the harder stuff. I like it. I want people to sort of start paying attention to some vocals or that guitar sound or the way that drum is. Some of those are very much specific to people, and so you start learning that. I mean, I was in a quiz yesterday, and I'm like, I've never heard the song before, but that voice, I know that voice, And so I, got the point, even though I'd never heard the song before in my life. I'm like, oh, no idea. And so I like doing that. I really just like stretching people's, minds a little bit and learning it and sort of paying attention to those vocals. Because then it makes you a better quizzer too.
Right. And that's one of the upsides of being a quizzer too, Christina, is that, I mean, even when we're watching your cast, half of the stuff we don't know it, but we learn from you. You're like the East Coast professor, with all due respect.
Well, not quite, but I mean, I know what I like. And I love covers. I love playing covers. I'm sure you've played my quizzes enough to see that I put a lot of covers in. I scour Apple Music for covers. Like I think this week I probably added another 300 or 400 new covers that I never.
How many covers do you have now in your possession?
I think it's about up to 8,100.
Oh my God!
That's just covers. Yes, exactly.
I'm just going to say 8,100. That's about half of my credit card debt I'm going to have after I download the some music tonight.
Yeah, I love covers. I love throwing in a lot of covers into my playlist. I like playing cover. I mean, I like to try to guess covers because trying to guess covers is actually hard. That stuff is hard.
It's tough. Those anagrams that you do, and when you come to HAPS, Christina, once
I'll do.
Team gets up and running.
Yeah,
we're at full speed ahead here on this beta stuff. Trust me, you are going to love. I mean, you think the Piano Man's crosswords are challenging with the New York Times in the morning. Christina's anagrams are right up there as far as, mind twisters. It will definitely get your mind off all the other crap going on in the world, and it will hook you. It is that good.
And obviously, I'm sure you've been in one of my quizzes where I took the album covers and I threw them into a photo app and altered them. So that looked pretty cool.
Yes. You were like one of the first people I remember doing a quiz with album covers. So whenever you see my quizzes, it's this woman right here. She gets the assist and the high five. And
thank you. I try. It's fun. I mean, one thing I do notice about doing these playlists that I do and being on for 6 hours or 5 hours, that's an awful lot of music I have to cull. Yeah. I never listen to music myself anymore. It's very rare. I know. It's so rare. I know.
I mean, except when you go walking or
when I go walking, that's about it. Otherwise, I'm not listening. I'm making the playlists. So
does it remind you of your playlist and you don't want to hear music, or?
No, you get burnt out when you start making playlists and trying to cull to get 400 songs to play. It's like I don't listen to the music like I used to. And so when I do some of my other hobbies like artwork behind me, I don't even listen to music. I want it silent. Yeah, isn't it weird?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we listen to it a lot in the car. Obviously, we listen to music in the car all the time. Okay. We travel, so.
All right. Well, so speaking of which, good segue. You mentioned your artwork behind you. That's obviously something to get your mind off of when you have to do quizzes or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your artwork and tell us about some of the things that you like to do to get your mind off of all the craziness from the pandemic.
Well, I do like to dabble in, crafts. I've just started using alcohol ink, making, abstract looking pictures with the alcohol ink. Use acrylic paints, watercolors. I take photography with the iPhone. Used to teach classes on photography with the iPhone and all kinds of apps. I used to work with an app. Gosh, what was the name of it? I can't even remember. Formulas? I can't remember, but I would have to come up with filters, and they would pay me, and it was a lot of work. That's how I paid for my very first iPad.
Nice.
They sent me a gift card. I'm like, they wanted to pay me in iTunes or something. I'm like, can you make that Apple the Apple Store instead?
Apple Store, yeah.
So that was a lot of work, but that was fun, and the app is still out there, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it's called Stackables and Formulas are the two. There's filters in there with my name right on it, my little picture and my name right on it that I made. So that was pretty cool. I like to do iPhone photography. So when we go out into the mountains and camping, we try to take a lot of pictures, and I don't take as many as I used to, but.
I mean, you just came back from a winery and a brewery excursion and a sake establishment recently, and
we did.
You're back at full strength. And question for you here: I mean, after all this COVID crap is over, is there like a dream destination that you and your husband want to pursue down the road?
Well, like a dream destination obviously would be New Zealand or something, but that's not in the cards, I don't think. But going out like west, out to like Montana, Oregon, Washington State, Alaska, something like that, Glacier National Park.
Alaska.
But we would have to drive, and we would camp along the way, so it would be a long trip. It's not just it wouldn't be like a week or anything. And I think sometime this summer we're going to do our standard like 10 days along the Blue Ridge Parkway. Camping, hiking, little hikes, finding all the wineries and the breweries, Asheville, North Carolina, that kind of stuff.
So how was that last weekend? Tell us about your sake brewery experience.
We went out because we have like a couple of us who went. We have we belong to wine clubs out there at all the wineries. I don't know if people know that Virginia has like 250 wineries. That doesn't include the breweries and the cideries and stuff. And so there's wineries, everywhere. And so we had to go out there and pick up our shipments. So we stayed for the weekend, us and a couple friends, and we went to one of the breweries, Three Notched, I think it was called. And while we were waiting for our table, there was a sake place next door. So we're like, hey, let's go get some sake. And they made it there. They make it there. So that was pretty interesting. Flavored sake is way better than like the standard no flavored sake. That's for sure.
I tried that once. No, thank you. But there's flavored sake. What was that?
Yeah, the one that I had was lemon mint. It was really good. It did not taste like it was alcoholic at all.
But it still had the alcohol by volume, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, it was like I think it was 14%.
Oh geez. Okay. That's quite the amount of Elmhurst Brewing Company.
But yeah, so we went to a couple breweries. I think we hit up 2 breweries, the sake place, and I think it was about maybe 5 to 6 wineries, I think, over the course of the weekend.
It's kind of a slow weekend.
It's hard. One time Bill and I think, went out camping by ourselves, and we hit, I think, 7 wineries in a day. That was a lot. I don't recommend that at all.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was hard work. And then we got assaulted by a skunk when we got back to camp.
Oh, geez.
It made it even worse.
Don't skunks go to like the end of like summer usually? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm bringing in some friends that were on my broadcast. They're on our virtual studio couch right now. Let's say hello to these guys. Say hello to Christina, Professor, and Helen. We're going to unmute you guys. There you go.
Hey, Professor. Hi, Helen. Or Heather.
Hiya.
Hi, Helen.
I'm never going to live that down.
Oh man, yeah. The first time I met Christina is I've dropped in one of her quizzes, and I've seen her in other quizzes. And man, oh man, I gave her the nickname the ISIS of trivia there because if you guys remember the show from the 70s, she had these magical powers that just boom. And I am in awe of the stuff. She is probably the prime competitor I have in trivias when she's not hosting them. Oh my God. Just boom.
Wi-Fi in the land.
I think we all have our strengths, though. I'm not like real up on like 80s punk rock. That's just although I lived punk rock, I liked what I liked. I didn't, delve out into a whole lot of other things. And same thing with soul. I know although I did win Martin's R&B and soul quiz the other day, so right. I know enough.
Well, don't discount yourself because Yacht Rock, you are the captain of Yacht Rock.
I know a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'm going to get you a skipper's hat every time you do a yacht show.
That's really funny. Actually, Bill has a picture of me in a captain's hat. We were somewhere. I can't remember where we were, and I put it on as for fun. And he goes, "Oh, let me take a picture so you can see yourself." So he took my picture. Then he posted it on Facebook. No, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, can you share the picture with us?
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like something the class needs to see.
No.
say, like I said, this is all not rehearsed or nothing. Trust me on that. I got the music going for one, Christina.
Yep. That's a good one. Baker Street.
Yeah.
Yes, he loves.
He has better songs, though. He has way better songs.
Yes.
I know.
If you mention
jumping into the broadcast, welcome to the JS Live Spectacular, our late night talking Friday program here on HAPS. We are doing the last 5, 10, 15 minutes of our program with a distinguished group of great broadcasters here on the network of Now. There are music aficionados. We have Helen Wallace from Scotland. We have the professor via Las Vegas from Phoenix, and of course, Christina from the East Coast. Thanks for spending your evening with us so far. God, I mean, where do we go from here, guys? I mean, this is just a dream having the three of you here. I mean, I've known you guys forever, but what direction are we going to go as far as the future of music? I mean, I know that Professor, you're stuck like me in Generation X, and we're all like, except of course, young Helen down there, Generation X. But there are some new bands out there. There are new bands out there, and Helen's going to help us out with this because I want her to start. There are some new music. There's songs I've not heard before that she exposed me to. Helen, what new artists, emerging artists, should we keep an eye on in 2021?
Well, you let me ask you, what did you discover new from Mixtape? What that you hadn't heard before? You tell me, what did you discover?
Oh my God! Well, where do I start? I mean, for example, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there was one band that you played. Is it actually an artist? Oh my God! It was from. Oh God! Bear with me. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oh, bear with me. I'm trying to remember. Oh God! Well, there are other bands. I'm trying to think.
I put you on the spot. I didn't mean to put you under pressure.
No. Let me think of it. It's the band. There's one guy. Starts with a G. Gary, or I'm following
Gary Newman.
No, the Gary Newman song is awesome. By the way, the Gary Newman song I know.
Yeah.
But it's called not Hostage.
Intruder.
But you also played a gentleman from, I think, Ireland or somewhere near neck of the woods. He's an emerging artist. Something Egan?
Rusty Egan.
Not Rusty. No, somebody else. Hold on. I'm going to cheat. I'm using my phone. This is called Raw Improvisation 101 because I'm following him on Twitter. You played him on your show about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, was that the one I retweeted out? That you'd mentioned him and I retweeted it out?
And he followed me back.
That's Jamie Jamal. Jamie Jamal.
Yes.
He's also part of a project called Flux. So what's happened in COVID times is a lot of people are releasing music, in collaborations, over the internet. So there are little pocket sort of like projects from people from different bands, in much the same ilk of what Visage was as a studio project back in the late 70s, early 80s. People are doing that in COVID times. They're members from different bands gathering together. So yeah, Jamie Jamal's got about 3 different projects, but that was his solo song.
That's what I was trying to think of exactly. Yep. And I mean, there were several others on your list that you had too. There was I forget, it was like the something project. I can't remember. It was.
Well, if you're asking me my favorite current, there is on the Mixcloud. If you go to mixcloud.com/Radio Leggy, there was favorite tracks of 2020 list. There's maybe 25, 26 songs or something on there, which I would consider to be my favorite of 2020. So those are what I would consider to be the acts to look out for. But there are 2 bands in particular. This, in fact, behind me, this band here, Vandal Moon, are from. Where are they from? They're from California somewhere, but I've forgotten exactly where. These guys, this is a Black Kiss album released last year, and they've got a kind of goth synthwave. You can hear a lot of influences. You can hear the Cure in there, but you can hear there's tinges of Depeche Mode. Great band.
Ooh.
The guy's vocals sound a lot like what's his name for the Human League? I forget his name. Phil Oakey, yeah, I think his vocals sound a lot like Phil Oakey. So I would say check out Vandal Moon, and I would say check out Empathy Test. Now, Empathy Test are so good. I play them every week, and I usually play 2 or 3 songs back to back by Empathy Test. I think they are probably the best band that are around at the moment. They're unsigned. They do everything themselves. They're a little cottage industry. They're based in London. I was going to say it's 2 guys. It's actually 3 guys, because the producer guy is the founder of the band, kind of stays behind the scene. He doesn't perform live. So live, it's 2 guys and a female drummer, and they're awesome. This is their Monsters album, which I still haven't. It's still sealed. I don't want to open it. It's a limited edition red vinyl. This was released last year, Monsters.
Okay.
I hate the fact that I've got a ring light on the reflection there. It's quite annoying. But check out Empathy Test. Honestly, if anybody needs more ears to listen to them and to be exposed to a larger audience, is Empathy Test. But I mean, Vandal Moon are right behind them. Those 2, I think, there are others. Check out that list, because it's unfair to pick out just 2. Like, there are so many good artists out there that they're not being signed by record labels, because that industry's gone down the pan. They've got the usual sort of 2 dozen artists that they want to constantly push on commercial radio, and they're not looking for new artists that they can invest in anymore and nurture. I mean, there will never be another U2. Can you imagine U2, at one point the biggest band in the world? Can you imagine a record label like Island sticking with them for 3 albums until they had a hit? There's no way. If you don't have a hit, if you get a record label at all, if you don't have a hit instantly, you're dropped.
Especially this day and age too.
This won't ever happen again. So you've got to look for it, and that's what I'm doing with Mixtape. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a 2-hour show. It takes me hours to put that together. I'm constantly looking for new stuff, but if you look hard enough, there are some fantastic new. I mean, Slow Readers Club's another one. Slow Readers Club, fantastic band.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Is that who you're thinking of? The Build a Tower album's a great album.
Who they were.
Yeah, Slow Readers Club from Manchester. Again, I think they might actually be on a label now, but for their first 3 albums, they weren't. Fantastic band. And, White Lies have had minor
To Lose My Life with their big song.
They're actually on a label, but still not getting as much recognition as they should. For me, White Lies are like Ultravox Mark II. Like they're up there with that kind of. They sound very. You can hear a lot of Ultravox in them. But again, not getting nearly enough recognition. But they've had a modicum of success, whereas these bands aren't even signed. If you want decent, what really annoys me is when people say there's no decent new music. No, there is. You just need to get off your arse and look for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't rely on commercial radio, because that's governed by an executive who's getting a backhander from a large record label like Sony, or or there are others of the same ilk, and it's the same 2 dozen artists that they're pushing constantly. You can't rely on commercial radio to give you anything new.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, I know that they had a song called "Is My Love Enough." That was another White Lies song. It was big too.
Is My Love Enough? It was off the Friends album in about 2017, I think. 2016. It's fairly recent. Is My Love Enough?
Didn't do as well here in the States, but like I said, it was one of those bubbling under songs that catches your attention. And you played that on one of your playlists, and I was like, God, I always remember "To Lose My Life." It had that whole.
I love White Lies, and I was fortunate enough to see them live just before COVID. I think it was like February or something. They were in Edinburgh, and a sort of average, sort of middle-sized, not a large theatre. Like you're talking maybe a 500 to 700 capacity sized live venue. Fantastic band live.
I miss small gigs like that. I miss like the smaller venues that I can just
very intimate.
Yeah. Now, Christina, how about you, young lady? You got me into watching that Sturgill Simpson, which was outstanding. That thing on Netflix, and
that concert. We were supposed to go to that concert like a year ago tomorrow, and it got so it was like one of the first things that got canceled here where I live because of COVID. Yeah, that stunk. We were going to have front row seats. We were going to be right up there on the rail and watch Sound and Fury by Sturgill Simpson. I'm sure they would have had it just lined with screens while he played and the videos behind him. It's all done all like anime style. And if you haven't listened to Sturgill, it's country, but not country at the same time. It's very different.
It's kind of there's some like hard rock aspects to it, but there's also the alt country that kicks in as well, and it's a very few musicians can pull that off. And it doesn't have to necessarily be new music, like it just came out yesterday. But is there anything else out there, Christine, outside of Sturgill Simpson that you're like, hey, and it could be even from a recurrent artist that has maybe more of a lower exposure this day and age? Is there anybody else out there that you're listening to lately?
Hundreds of them.
What I like to listen to. What I guess recently discovered is cinematic covers. Those like they're used in like movies. They're like pop songs that are done big with orchestration, and they're covers. Like K.I. Theory does some. I can't remember any of the other guys' names at the moment, other than K.I. Theory. So if you like that big sweeping orchestrated sound done pop covers. Go check out K.I. Theory, and then go down that rabbit hole. Like there's a version of like Toxic by Britney Spears by one of the guys. It's not by K.I. Theory. I think it's done by another guy. I can't remember their names at the moment.
You played some of that on your show.
I do. And it's
it's some of them are covers, and it had me because you wouldn't expect that song to be covered or done in that way, with that whole orchestrative thing, the full-fledged production thing and all of that.
Correct. And I think those are pretty interesting. You could probably, in fact, I think one of my playlists is up on Spotify. I think if you put in cinematic covers, one of my playlists might show up. So if you wanted to listen to that kind of music.
That sounds
I think that's some pretty interesting music, I remember being in the quizzes, I've turned a lot of people on to that stuff.
Absolutely. Hey, if you guys are just jumping into the room, welcome to the JS Live Late Night Talk and Variety program we do here on HAPS, the network of now, going a little bit late tonight. So I appreciate Helen staying up at 6 in the morning, or 5:37 in the morning. Christina's up at 12:30 in the morning, and the professor's in here. He's the West Coast guy. He gets away with all of it. Now, the professor is a proponent of old traditional music, 60s, 70s, 80s funk, soul, R&B. He'll do new wave, alternative rock. He's just a walking almanac of music knowledge. And
I do like some new music.
Yes. So give us some information on what you've been listening to as far as the new stuff that's out there.
Okay. Well, if your tastes run more towards soul and classic R&B, check out a group on Daptone Records called Durand Jones and the Indications. Awesome stuff. Sharon Jones, another humdinger. Check them out. Now, there's groups that I picked up here in the, or should I say, down in the Phoenix Valley, as I worked for a lot of arenas there in town. I worked for the main Suns Arena, as well as a small place called it was America Theater, but now it's known as Arizona Federal. And I've gotten a few happy surprises there as well. Fleet Foxes, they just released a new album 2020. Only Robin Peckhold, their lead singer, performed on it. They have a lot of retro sound to them. The 1975 is something new that I enjoy. And one that you probably never would expect, but his first album absolutely blew me away when I saw him on tour, was Harry Styles. Shh.
No. That's the no chorus right there. No.
Don't hate me.
You lost all credibility that you had. It's gone.
Don't you judge me.
I know.
I'm joking. This is my judgy face.
Right.
Guilty pleasure. Sorry.
And then I know we're only going to spend 5 more minutes with you guys because you guys are exhausted and tired. And all of you guys in the virtual studio audience, thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening with us. There's a lot of other great programs on here, but I'm glad you chose this little Meek Humble late night talk show called JS Live. Once this COVID stuff's over, once it's all kind of and everyone's feeling strong and healthy and everything, if there was one concert that you would be able to go to right away first to see live, whether it be a small gig or in a large festival environment, what artist would it be? And I'm going to start with Helen.
Well, it's funny you say that because I did mention earlier that I was in Australia this time last year, and Midge was on his New Zealand and Australia tour at the time, and managed to complete the whole of New Zealand and almost all of Australia. And the final date was Perth, Western Australia, which was the city that I was in. And it's the one gig that got cancelled.
Oh, jeez.
And I was really miffed because I'd arranged to meet friends in the band and stuff for a coffee, and I was staying quite near the theatre, and then it was like, okay, they're cancelling it because of COVID. And then there was this whole thing of how are they going to get home because they're stuck at the airport. They're meant to be heading back via Dubai. They were meant to be doing a gig on the way back.
Oh wow!
Okay. And that was cancelled first. So then they ended up like in the airport for like 36 hours or something. And I've got Dave messaging me saying like, get out now! Don't wait for your flight. Get out now! They're cancelling the flights, and I'm panicking. Anyway, so long story short, the first Midge gig that's happening, I'm going to be right there because that I feel like I missed out. I was meant to be taking my Australian friends to go see him, and it never happened. So my first musical love, and that'll be my first thing when COVID, if COVID ever is not a thing anymore.
Wow. Very good. God, hold on 1 second. My computer's freezing up. There we go.
I'm not saying it all too fast. Should have said it a lot slower.
Up. No. But I'm just saying, I would love to see Midge. I mean, obviously, Ultravox being big as they were, I was in high school and in college when Ultravox was out. I remember hearing "Reap the Wild Wind" the spring of '83. I mean, God, and it's Midge solo. In the mid to late '80s. I remember when "Dear God" came out from Midge back in '89. I have the cassette single of that, and that's a lot of memory. Frustrating though, and I know Christina was mentioning she missed Sturgill Simpson right before that happened. Christina, would you pick up where you left off with Sturgill Simpson, or is there something else that you'd want to check out when COVID's over?
I mean, yeah, seeing Sturgill would be great, and I had actually passed up the opportunity to see Midge, which I would love to. I have never seen him, but he was here. Well, not here, but he was in DC. But it was like February or March.
Was that a little solo acoustic?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was, it was February in DC. It's like if it was July, I would have gone, but February, come on, that's just cold to be walking around the city, and yeah.
Probably just to coincide with everything else because the man tours all the time, like he never stops.
And so I know that he was up in Philadelphia like the year before at another very small little intimate club type of deal, which looked awesome. But again, Philadelphia was like a 5-hour drive. But again, now, obviously, once things open up, that everyone is going to rush out to go see everybody. Concerts are going to sell out in seconds, I bet.
To be honest, I think it's going to be really difficult for artists to even get venues because all the artists are going to be rushing out to try and book their gigs. So it's going to be hard for anybody to find it. It's going to be pre-booked years in advance, I think.
Which leads to the question. I want to ask Professor about the first gig he wants to go to, but kind of like what you, Christina, and you, Helen, were talking about. Is there going to be price gouging for these concerts? Because people are so starving to go to a concert or to see a gig. Are the booking agents gonna jack the prices up? Are the venues gonna charge them?
I think that's always been a thing. That the thing is to just not entertain it, to just not give them the money for it. It's always been a thing, but you just don't buy from those people.
Right. Well, you got to give the people what they want, and the venues I work at, they are kind of strict about the scalping aspect of it. There's an actual statute in Phoenix, Arizona, where you cannot hawk tickets within 100 feet of the venue. So most of the hawkers have to go across the street or down the street. And the arena, the main arena where the Suns play, they will actually arrest you if they catch you hawking tickets on the spot there. So, but they have changed now. Now I'm back to the arena working the Phoenix Suns shows. And Phoenix Suns actually require the fans to come in and fill out a form, kind of an honor system, to where they have to say, I have not had any symptoms. I've not been around anybody with symptoms in the last 14 days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they have to use the honor code to come in to a venue. So I'm thinking that concerts are going to be that way. They're going to have people spaced out at first, as they do at sports right now, because we're selling tickets in either 4-seat pods or 2-seat pods with spaces in between them. Yep. So right now, in a 17,000 person venue, right now we're letting in 3,000 people, and that's going to bump up to 5,000 here starting with the Lakers game on. It's coming up next week. So we're about a third occupied. So I'm thinking we're going to do the same with concerts, and those tickets are going to be impossible to touch unless you know somebody at the arena. Wink, wink.
Yep. Exactly what I was thinking too. And and then Professor, really quick, I meant to ask you, what's the first? Because you work at a venue, but I'm saying if it wasn't one of the venues that you worked at, and there was an artist that you would want to see who was about to tour, who was going to tour, which artist would that be?
I'm going to go with the one that Audio Source. He's the guy who does my sound on my program. If you guys remember my show from over on that other P place, Periscope. Audio. He's been doing it for 6 years almost, and he turned me on to Duran Jones and Indications, and he actually flies to San Francisco or L.A. where they're playing. So I have a promise, pinky swear with him, that the next time those guys play, no matter where it is here on the West Coast, we're flying out to go see them. So that's the next one I'm going to.
Nice. That's wild. I mean, we're all jonesing to get out and see live gigs and everything. And and Professor, you kind of touched on something interesting here, and that was as far as the, filling out the form, signing the waiver, so that way that the venue won't be held liable. If something were to happen. Good morning, Walt. Good morning, Rev. Hello, everybody. Question for you for this is that, are we going to get to a point where there's always like the people who are against vaccines and everything like that? And is there going to be a situation where like a festival or a gig or something like that? And this is for all of you guys. I'm just throwing this out there. I was thinking about this today, and that is that if people are prohibited to going into seeing a gig or a concert without being vaccinated, is there, I wonder if there's going to be any fallout from that.
It's already a thing that artists are lining up to get vaccinated. I know for a fact Midge has had his done. His band having theirs done. Like, that's the thing. I don't know about audiences, but certainly what will happen is any touring band, any touring or touring, sorry, my Scottish accent, acts will probably need to have some kind of a COVID passport or something. I don't know if that's a thing, but I think they're making that their own practice, that they get vaccinated so that when the go ahead's given, they can easily fly without having to fight the point, basically. So I know for a fact that artists are already taking that into their own hands. Crew and bands are already doing that. I don't know about audiences. I think it would be very difficult to enforce that. To make someone have a vaccine and then have some kind of certificate to say that they've had it. I think that's really difficult. I think what will happen is, I think Professor's correct. I think venues will initially start off at reduced capacity. Band that I work with has 1 gig booked this year, and that's the only booking we've taken because we don't know what's happening. And that's an outdoor. That's party at the Palace in Linlithgow, which is a mixed bill outdoor kind of festival, and that's in August. Fingers crossed that goes ahead. But I think what will happen is reduced capacity indoors, and outdoor gigs will be the first that will be allowed to happen before we have any kind of situation that we would consider normal. We were talking earlier about, an intimate gig, White Lies, that 700 capacity, where we're all, crammed in like sardines. That's the norm. You go to a gig, you're restricted. You cram as many people in as possible, adhering to fire regulations, obviously. But, we're not going to get that back for a long time. And that is part of the gig experience, having sweat running down the walls and, that's part of the gig experience,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's going to be a different experience when we get some kind of normalcy back, for sure.
I mean, I miss just whether it be a small club or whether it be a huge, like a Riot Fest or a Pitchfork. I just miss not just the music, I miss the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God. So, biggest question of the day. It's already almost midnight here in the States, but I want to thank each of you three for joining me and staying up so late with me here, everybody. I'm going to let you three plug the living daylights out of any socials that you have out there, any kind of gigs that you have coming up, interviews, programs, all that kind of stuff. Let's start off right over there. Let's start up over beautiful Scotland.
Start with
Heather, Helen. Heather.
Heaven, that's a new one.
Helen, please plug your socials. And again, guys, tomorrow night, make sure you follow Helen Wallace, guys, because she has a huge interview with one of the innovators of music in our generation, of our time, Rusty Egan. Helen, tell us a little bit about that and other stuff on your socials.
Okay, so briefly, the socials are really easy. It's Radio Leggy everywhere, and they're all on my bio. It's not difficult to find me. I have my little radio show on a Thursday night, 9 until 11 GMT on vault-radio.com, which is then put on Mixcloud to listen back after transmission on, funnily enough, mixcloud.com/Radio Leggy, because it's Radio Leggy everywhere and I'm really easy to find. Tomorrow night, Friday night, the 12th GMT, that is, I'm going to have a little chin wag with Rusty Egan. I'm not calling it an interview. It's a chit chat. It's a blether. It's a grab a cup of tea or a beer and you're chatting with your mate down the pub kind of thing. It's very informal. So that's on Haps. 10-ish p.m. GMT tomorrow. That's the same day. Well, actually, it's now because it's after midnight. So the Blitzed soundtrack will have been released on Spotify if you search for Rusty Egan. And then on Saturday, the Blitzed documentary on Sky Arts at 9 p.m. GMT. That's the thing. Obviously, that's the reason Rusty's coming to talk to me. It's not just because, I'm a chum and I've got a beautiful, wonderful, fucking fantastic face that everybody wants to talk to. Obviously he wants to plug something, and it's Sky Arts at 9 p.m. I'm plugging it here. That's it there, Blitzed. Has it been released? Yeah. Thanks, Christina.
Yep, so that's on iTunes. Yep.
It's on iTunes. It's on all your standard places. There's a couple of new tracks that he's done with Boy George for that.
Oh, nice.
All 32 tracks.
There's a fantastic remix of Fade to Grey, which has been redone. Yeah, it's been redone by him and Chris Payne. Chris Payne was originally a member of Visage and a member of Gary Newman's Tubeway Army. Obviously, they brought him in with Billy Currie to form Visage. So Chris Payne and Rusty Egan have reworked Fade to Grey. It's a love. Actually, the violin and piano on that really brought out the sadness in the song. I love it. So there's that. That's an extended mix. There's the new track with Boy George. There's
Glorious, one of my favorite mid-year songs.
Glorious is a fantastic track. But again, Glorious is Rusty Egan and Midge-Ure. It's not just and Chris Payne. The three of them wrote it together. So it's like most of the members of the original Visage. And there's also a track on there called Blue Cabaret. If you listen to it, it was by this woman called Ronnie, who was a regular at the Blitz Club. But the actual music it was written by Peter Godwin, who had a few hits of his own in the 80s, and the synthesizer on it is Hans Zimmer. like the Hans Zimmer of like film music fame, Hans Zimmer, and Warren Kahn, the drummer from Ultravox. So those guys obviously were all in a project together called Helden. It's a long story. This is the kind of thing you have to listen. This is the kind of thing you have to come into my shows to listen to, because I don't want to take up all your airtime. But if you listen to that track, fantastic. It sounds so like the synths on that are so they move. If you turn that up in the car, the whole car shakes. It's one of those like Moog deep synth fantastic track.
Synthesizer sound, which I love.
Absolutely. So yeah, check out the Blitzed soundtrack, and like I say, the next again day, the Saturday, is the documentary.
Excellent, Helen. Thank you so much, my friend. Christina, are you quizzing tomorrow night?
I will quiz tomorrow night. I think I'm going to do 4 guess the title of the playlist. So you have to guess the title, what the theme is of the playlist. Maybe C artists. I haven't figured that one out yet. Critters 216 over here on Twitter. That's where I'll be after Periscope, but tomorrow night I'm on Periscope, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be 8 or 9. I haven't figured that out. Depends on how late Helen goes, because I would like to definitely listen to that. So
well, I'm not sure what time you're
at 5. You're at 5.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
I don't know how long you'll go on until, but you can always watch a replay. I mean, don't.
Correct. So it's between 8 and 9 I'll be on probably till midnight, 1 kind of thing. Yeah, it's a good time. A lot of people show up, a lot of good music. Guess the title of the playlist seemed to go over really well. People love that, trying to guess that theme. Very few people ever guess that theme. They are kind of hard,
Albert Hammond.
Albert, yeah, that one was pretty good. All written by Albert Hammond, or they were all born in February, or all president names, that kind of thing. So I got 4 of those lined up. So that's good. So that's where I am.
You're on Haps too.
Oh, and I'm on Haps. I haven't figured out where I'm going to be on Haps, what time, what day. I'm going to think of maybe like some sort of morning, or early afternoon type of little chat. That's it. Just chat. No real theme, not talk about music or crafts, or just chat, kind of thing. Before I go to the beach, because it's getting to be beach season. So I have to do it right before I go to the beach.
So definitely, guys, make sure you subscribe to Christina.
Yep.
Still doing her thing over on Periscope for another 19 days, and then she'll hop over to Twitter Live. But she's going to be here on Haps as well.
I'll be on Haps. I'll have some sort of program. I'll find my place and figure it out what it's actually going to be.
Yeah. And last but not least, the PhD of old school. This guy, the walking liner notes of all social media platforms. Professor, plug away, sir.
Okay. Well, my past, again, you can find the books on Amazon.com under the name William Popsy Randolph. And you can go to popsyphotos.com, which is a site I did oh my goodness, almost 20 years ago. And it's an oldie but a goodie, baby. And there's that. It gives you the whole history and the rundown of Popsy, as well as radio shows I've done in the past. I have actually had 2 shows, the PhD of Old School on Mixcloud. And if you like more of the rock tinge and rarities and deep crate gotties, you can go to The Man from Vinyl. That is my other show where I just feature things on, vinyl. So there's that show. And both of those shows will be coming back shortly, probably even as soon as next week. So kind of keep your ears open for those. And lastly, here on Haps, please check out the photography, music photography. I don't have a real name for it. It's just me, my scanner, and old negatives. And also I feature photos from Popsy's archive. So last week I featured some of the Beatles shots with Murray the K, as well as a couple of weeks ago I did the Rolling Stones' first trip to America, them walking down Broadway in June of 1964. So you'll never know what you're going to see. So tune in if you love vintage old rock. And you'll also get the performers from the 70s. So I might even feature, I'll leave it as a surprise. Tune in, please. Thank you.
There's your teaser from the professor, the PhD of Old School.
Can I just throw this out here? I honestly think PhD of Old School's vinyl, the scanning, sorry, I'm so tired. The photos, the scanning, the photos, you don't have a name for it. Those broadcasts, that needs to get nominated for Broadcast of the Week.
I agree.
So I'm throwing in my vote here. Haps boys, if you're listening, I haven't emailed you about it, but get them on your list.
Haps boys, no pressure, Peter. No pressure, Pablo.
You're spoiling me, Helen. I'm going
to. I just think it's brilliant to watch. It's fascinating, and not enough people are seeing it. So.
Well, I mean, every Chuck D needs a Flavor Flav. So, I'm going to buy you a big clock on your neck, and you can be my hyper.
We'll be the S1Ws. It was the S1Ws. Yeah! Hap Steele in the Hour of Chaos. Yes. Helen, Christina, Professor, my friends, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will be on all of your casts, supporting the living out of you guys forever. I'm grateful for all of you. Thanks for joining me this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys when you guys are live. So have fun tomorrow, Helen. Christina, I'll see you tomorrow. Professor, have fun in Vegas. So be good, guys. That does it. That is it for the program. That is it. Next week here on the JS Spectacular, we are going to have an action-packed program. We are going to have Ann Rush cooking us breakfast over there. It'll be probably a fourth wheel here, 10:30 here in Chicago. Plus, funny man Chris Rossetti will be joining us from San Francisco, California. Plus, we will have a musical guest that you will love. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. All right, guys, that's it. We will see you Saturday night for my trivia program. Saturday Night Trivia, all new categories, all are welcome. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific over most of this HAPS network. So on behalf of Helen, Christina, and the Professor, this is Jim from the northwest suburbs of Chicago, bidding you a very pleasant good evening, everybody. Hold on. I'll wait for the close.